afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here, and welcome to the JEZ West 2016 International Business Case Presentation. First off, I just want to thank our judges. We have Gary Vickers from EMCO, Josh Lawson from Scotiabank, Michael Kalzar from Federated Cooperatives Limited, Kenneth Coates from Johnson Shariyama Graduate School in Public Policy, Wayne Brownlee from Potash Corp, and Carolyn Tastad from P&G. Competitors will have a maximum of 20 minutes to present. Immediately following the presentation, judges will have a total of 5 minutes to ask presenters questions. The volunteer timekeeper will show time cards at various intervals to indicate the remaining time, and will stop any speaker who exceeds the maximum time limit. No questions, comments, cell phones, or picture taking will be permitted from the audience at any time. The audience will only be permitted to applaud following the question and answer period. The audience is banned from any material that bears the name or symbol of a competing university, and we ask that the audience exit the room immediately following the question and answer period. So competitors, you may begin when you're ready.
With great risk comes great reward. We came here today to help you take advantage of an urgent opportunity while reducing these risks. We also want to supply you with a plan for long-term sustainability and maintaining security while we do that. All right, so just a brief of what we're going to be going over today. We'll identify what we think you guys' problems and opportunities are going forward, and how we got to this, and what we're going to do to take advantage of it.
All right, so we're going to start by identifying some problems of why you approached us today. So the first thing is you want to mitigate the bribery. You are looking to expand into some international markets, but you're trying to alleviate the fact that there are some potential bribes. So we want to make sure that we find a solution for you so we mitigate that bribery and you're not in any unethical business practices. As well as the security concerns. There's a lot of security concerns with travelers looking to use airlines, looking to fly. And with the Malaysian air flight that went missing this past year, there are a lot of people concerned that if they take a flight that might be them, that they might get into that situation. So we want to make sure that the solution that we find mitigates that security, and they have onboard locators so that if a plane does go missing, we're able to locate it right away and we can find the passengers of that plane. And another one is to secure upfront payments. By expanding into more markets, we do need to make sure that the payments are upfront because of that potential with the bribery and with the unethical practices. We need to make sure that there's going to be payment upfront and it isn't, and we're not getting it over time because there is the possibility of the payment not coming in.
So here at Granite, you guys are basically the middlemen from selling highly innovative aviation technology to our consumers that are looking to expand their aviation technologies. So right now, the market analysis sends some considerations to look at. Politically and legally in the context of the case is, of course, the contracts and the RFPs. There's a lot of certain bullet points and parts of the contract that need to be considered when we're moving internationally. And there's the political structures of the overall area that we're moving into. The 3 countries were Angola, Burundi, and Oman. And all 3 of those countries, whether presently or historically, have all had some sort of bribery or some sort of other problems through our research that we've done. Considering the economic background and structure of this location, there's increasing demand and exchange rates, so the increasing demand in the market for not only flight and safer travel is going to be something that we will look at. Socioculturally, is there's hesitant travelers like Nicole had mentioned, and the ethical uncertainty of the market. Right now, we have a very innovative technology in our hands here at Granite, and that is part of our. We want to update that, and it's basically a black box that we are. It's a updated black box that we are going to use to be able to better track flights, and having that in your hands is going to be #1 priority at the right cost. And environmentally, of course, there is fuel costs and the rising prices of commodities as well.
So just a brief competitive analysis for you here. So basically, we're dealing with flights competitors and your own in Granite. So you have Aero Info and Chartwell. Although they are huge manufacturers, you have to remember that you provide a technology that they don't have. We want to leverage that technology and let people know why we are the future because of this. Then turning to flight, we have Honeywell and L3. So they have huge brand recognition, but we feel the partnership that you have with Flight, Granite, just putting those together will help Flight move forward.
So we identified some costs to consider before we looked at the solution and the recommendation where we should go from there. So the first cost was the preparation cost. There already is $200,000 that has been spent before going into this with the prep of expanding internationally. So that's one thing to consider, is that that cost is already there, and if there's going to be more costs, that's one thing to include, as well as outsourcing. We also will be outsourcing, so we have to include that cost as well as the new office. If you are going to be expanding into new markets, we want to make sure we have an office there, so we have executives there to ensure that everything is going well, as well as equipment and installation. Actually installing the locators in the airplanes, that is a cost that obviously has to be considered, as well as the training and salary, because this is a new technology and there's all the airplanes that's going to be in all the airplanes. We have to train all the pilots to use it, and there's a salary of the trainers to the pilots. So that's something that we have to as well consider, as well as the accounts receivable insurance. As we mentioned, there is a slight risk of going into some of these markets. So one thing we would suggest is the accounts receivable insurance. So that's another cost that we would have to add on to our solution.
So looking at our key pillars to success, what will move you guys forward, what we will look to use to do that. So your innovative technology that I already touched upon, this is huge. Your financial commitment, so we're looking at all the risks that are involved in the different options that we went through, and the financial commitment, the longevity of it. Next we have risk management, dealing with these uncertainties. Like there are opportunities here, there's huge risks that we need to manage with the bribery, which we will look to do, and also international growth. You guys want to continue to grow, and this is how we feel that you can do it.
So through our analysis and everything that we've considered, we came up with 3 options based on the time constraint that you guys were given. You had 3 hours to make a quick decision, and we just decided that focusing on the 3 different RFPs is probably the best way to go. So we're going to go over quickly the 3 different pros and cons of the different RFP proposals and countries that are included. So the first RFP proposal was from Angola, which is in Africa. Some of the pros of just this market in general, the whole government itself is seeking local development. So having a company such as ours moving into a location like that is going to be huge. But to mitigate that, or on the opposite side of that, there's the political domination on the side of, in politics, it's bribery is huge there, and the political scene is very uneasy, so doing business there might not be the best option. There is some basic GDP growth with a stable currency nationally, not in international sense, but in the country there's a pretty stable currency in the past and future. They have a trade surplus in an emerging market, but again, there's supply constraints to go along with protectionist measures. So implementing those protectionist measures through the government. We don't really think that moving into a country that wants to focus on local development from bringing stuff from the outside is going to be the best option to mitigate the risk that we've followed. So moving on to the next one is Burundi, which is a tiny little African country with some very minor GDP growth, with increasing exports and decreasing imports on a minor scale, which are some of the things that will be benefited. But on the cons, like with Angola, there is huge political instability along with a history of bribery as well. There's a deficit in the fiscal policy with increasing expenditures, and even though revenues have been increasing, they have not been able to limit the expenditures on a national scale, so they're basically either breaking even or hemorrhaging money from the country. And there's volatile aid flows as well, which hamper the revenue that they've been seeing. And then moving into the third country, which is Oman. Although there is a huge risk with the location, as we know, it's on the Arabian Peninsula, which is located close to places such as Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, places that, as you guys know, are not really the best place to be traveling right now or doing business with. But we do believe that with the robust domestic development and the oil and gas industry there, they do have a lot of money to spend, and we're in the business of making money, so we do think that this is probably a very good option that you should be going with. They have a account surplus, and right now they're working on an economic diversification program. So the money that will be used in this RFP will be going towards improving the airport and improving some of the things that tourists might first see when they come into the country, so that not only benefits the company in making money, but it also benefits the country as a whole, giving it a better impression than some might think of it.
So just to come back to these, the key pillars that we focused on when we made the decision, as we mentioned, we really want to leverage the technology because it is such a huge thing when flying, having the locators. So we definitely want to make sure that we are continuing to take the fact that you have an innovative technology above the competitors and make sure we're focusing on that, as well as making the choice that has the lowest possible financial commitment, as well as mitigating that risk of the unethical behaviors and expanding internationally, because that's something you wish to do. So we created a decision matrix here of how we came to it. As you can see, in all three options, the innovative technology stayed the same, because we're using the same technology regardless of where it would go, as well as the international growth. Because your goal was to expand internationally, we scored the same there. However, with risk management, financial commitment, it had a little bit of a differences. With risk management, we mentioned that this would be a bit less because of the flourishing country and because they do have more money because of the oil. So we thought that was the best option, and that's why we went with this today.
All right, so the first thing that we want to get on when we go to this country to mitigate your huge risk of the bribery potential here is purchase accounts receivable insurance. So you want to get on this straight away. There's a cost that comes with this, but it is well worth it. Next, we will submit our bid along with our two other main competitors. We'll consult our lawyers, although we can't do that right now. We will look to do that as soon as possible. So assuming that we do get the bid over our competitors, we will then start searching for an office location. So with that, we feel, we do have other options here, but we feel if you have an actual office location there, we can work more closely with officials to improve our relationships, and finally acquiring a consulting report. So this is, when talking to some of your connections, we found that this did exist, and it is something that we need to get a hold of. So accounts receivable insurance does come with some cost of 2.5%, but like I said, you need this security. We don't even think it's an option not to go with this. Next, you have your lawyer fees. Again, we can't talk to them right now, but as soon as that is possible, we will go over the contract with them before we get everything finalized. And finally, consulting fee to the introducer. So next for midterm midterm implementation, that's will be in year 2. So first thing we're looking at is hiring 2 full-time employees. There is the possibility of hiring the expatriate, but we feel that you guys should start here and then if needed move on to that, because there is increased costs with doing that with compensation and benefits. So we're estimating an office manager 80,000 a year, secretary around 50,000 a year, all in with the office and these 2 new employees around 200,000 a year. So we'll look to move into this new office space, get it set up, and then another thing we want to add on to this is semi-annual meetings with executives. So that would be flying. We will have the office manager and secretary based there, but we want to fly in executives biannually or semi-annually basis, just to meet with the office manager, meet with the officials, just to make sure everybody's on the same page and we're all working towards our goal.
So that takes us to the long-term implementation, which will be into year 3. At this point, we recommend that it's beneficial to expand into Canada and to bring this technology into Canada. It was mentioned that this technology would flourish in low-cost carriers. Canada recently introduced a new low-cost carrier, and this would be a great opportunity to jump on that, to have your locators put into those planes. So you'd want to start by scheduling meetings with these representatives, letting them know about this technology that you have and what it does, and that it's the most innovative among your competitors. It has the best technology and the best location services. As well, as we mentioned with the training, you did say that there was a large cost of printing manuals to have all the planes have the manuals for the pilots. So one thing we thought that would be great is to digitize the manuals, because you're so focused on the technology. This is a great opportunity to take advantage of having this in a more digital form, not wasting all this paper, and having it so it's accessible to them at all times. That way you can have constant updates when something is new and changed, and everyone can be informed. This is also when you would train the new pilots in Canada and have them on board with the technology as well.
So then just moving forward, there's also some future considerations maybe after our contract has run up. Right now the contract's just for 3 years, the one that we had to take last minute from your subsidiary company. Of course we want to reevaluate the contract in Oman. It's possible that our business could have been booming when we're there. It could have been flourishing. We might want to renegotiate and maybe open more offices or open in areas close by. If we have seen that there has been no illicit behavior with our funds, hopefully that's something that we could go into the future and explore other opportunities and expansion like I had just mentioned. And we just have a table here of some assumed costs over the 3-year period. These are based on our calculations and from the case. The revenue is taken from the RFP sale, so when we buy the parts and sell them to the country, that's where our revenue is based off on this table. So we're looking at, in the first year, there is a loss of about $370,000. That's just coming from the account receivable insurance that we did purchase from the government. That was on our assumed value of the entire value of the RFP in general. But over the course of the next 2 years, we are looking at an increasing profit each time. As you can see from 2016 to 2017, it is doubling, and that's just based on the one location, not on the company as a whole. There is the training cost that increase, but these are mitigated by the subsidy payments that the company is giving us to hire and train the employees per year.
So just to wrap it all up and come back to the beginning of the problems that you brought to us, we believe that the recommendation that we did bring to you would first mitigate the bribery. By going into a country, we're going to start first with Oman and see how it goes there, and then from there we will be able to look to expand to the other countries as well with the and it kind of ties in with the securing the payment by having the accounts receivable insurance. By having that, we'll be able to secure the payment and we'll be able to mitigate the bribery. With the security concerns, this is definitely something that should be integrated into airlines and integrated into airplanes, so people can feel more secure about flying. people are aware that these are in airplanes, then they'll feel more secure. They won't be apprehensive about jumping on a plane and flying somewhere. So this is definitely something this plan would definitely mitigate the perspective of potential flyers. And that's all we have for you today, and I'd like to open the floor for discussion.
Yes, sir.
Just so I'm clear, we haven't contacted our lawyers yet, but how did we mitigate our contract bribery concerns?
The contract bribery concerns were, even though the lawyers have not been contacted, if we do go through with this option by having that accounts receivable insurance, if there was a case of bribery, we're assuming that all goes well, but if there is a case, we do have that insurance that is coming back to us, so the bribery is just mitigated in the sense that if it does happen, we do have insurance, and if it doesn't happen, the insurance cost isn't as great. So we're kind of hoping for the best with the bribery, I guess.
Is the insurance for bribery or is the insurance for receivables?
It's the insurance for the receivables, yes. So if the company or if the Omani government or company doesn't come through with the payments right away, then that insurance is going to help us with ensuring that we have that money that we did not lose up front by taking the contract, and hopefully, or going into the future, it's considered that we should continue moving
What
forward.
insurance would you pay me if I spend 4 years in jail?
Pardon me?
Insurance would you pay me if I spend 4 years in jail? I mean, the bribery risk is actually a criminal offense for your executive officers.
Well,
It's not just money, it's
yeah.
prison time if you're talking about.
Yeah, we, because we aren't allowed, available to contact our lawyers right away, they're not available at the moment. That's why we want to revisit the contract after we submit the RFP. I understand there are like concerns with this, but we are assuming based on the information that there aren't bribery here, and even if there was, we're not aware of it. It doesn't say it in the contract. That's not saying that it's not possible still, but that's how we'll look to reduce that.
You talked a lot about leveraging the technology, and I think we agree it's a highly technological product and advanced over its competitors. What do you think is holding the product back today?
Like holding it back in what way?
Well, we know it's a better product. Why do
Yeah.
you think it's not moving as fast as our competitors?
Well, I think just the way it was presented when you guys tried to go into the US, there was problems. The two main problems were there was brand recognition there. We feel like working with Flygt and Granite together will help with that. Another big thing was training and manuals. So companies don't want to go, don't want to spend all this money and time like redoing this whole thing. So we feel like when we go to Canada, we can use this technology, and it is better technology than our competitors, but it's just not presented in the right way. So with these low cost airlines that we're looking to target in Canada, first of all, we'll present it digitally as a manual, which will save costs there. Also with training, we feel like you always need to be updating, especially since you guys are based on innovation. We feel like airlines that you partner with should be based on that too. And also, these are new. These low-cost airlines in Canada are new. They are developing, so we feel like it's not a huge deal to incorporate this into their solutions.
Do you have any concerns with Flygt as your supplier on this?
Wait, sorry?
Do you have any concerns with Flygt as your primary supplier for this project?
Well, you've been paired with Flygt for a while now, and I guess they've been providing this technology. They do also have other suppliers as well. That was mentioned that they do have other suppliers, but that's one of the reasons why we recommend that you expand into international markets, because that's going to get their technology into more planes, into more areas. So by international expansion, that definitely gives that option, and by being the first mover into countries such as Oman, we believe that Flygt would want to be on that to get into more countries. So the travelers see Flygt as a as a company that cares about consumers when going to these countries.
We understand that they are giving us more risk with their new proposal, but we want to take advantage of this as more of an opportunity to go into training. And we feel like that we need them also because of the technology that they provide us with.
So are you signing on to that exclusive distribution agreement?
We would have to be, yeah, that's to answer your question, yeah, we would be.
That's all the time we have for questions, so thank you very much.